where are the gold price, silver price, and platinum price headed? We've got massive changes, massive situations that we need to talk about right now. The market has had 24 hours to digest the inflation numbers from yesterday, and many top analysts, including myself, the top of the top, believe that we are at a pivot point in terms of how the market will perceive the precious metals as we move into the coming months, quarters, and years. We're going to talk about how everything has changed, okay? Let's talk about, even this morning, what indication do we have? Right before I came on and joined you right now, and I appreciate you joining me right now, the gold market had bounced back. I'm hoping we're still in green territory, but we got retail sales numbers this morning. We're going to talk about why those are such BS. I'm not going to pick it up. Well, I might later on. I've got a prop to show you what the retail sales numbers are. But what does this all mean? What's going on with the Fed? What's going on with inflation? What's going on with retail sales? But most important, what we want to know, what the heck is going on with the silver price, gold price, and platinum price? And I've got some bold predictions about what we can expect in the coming months, quarters, and years, okay? We've also got an energy problem, an oil problem that's going to factor into all of this. And again, guys, this all, because that's what we love to talk about, silver and gold and platinum, it all relates back to the precious metals. We know why we hold the metals, to protect ourselves. I'm not telling you you're going to get rich, right? But I will tell you that I firmly believe that gold, silver, and platinum will help you at minimum, preserve your wealth, okay? So what's going to happen next for the markets? Let's touch on the retail sales number quickly. Okay, that was a great number. Did you see that this morning? Retail sales, blowout number, beat expectations. Everything's great out there, right? The consumer's in such healthy shape. The consumer represents...
Look at your microphone.
What do you mean?
It sounds muffled.
It sounds muffled? Oh no, hold on. Susie says I sound muffled. Do I sound muffled to you guys? What's going on? Gold now. Hello everyone. My Carrera. Darn it. Susie says I sound muffled. Does sound good? Annie Oakley says yes, I sound muffled. Huh. Bear with me, guys. Yes, a little bit. Yes, sound different than usual. Well, hold on. Let me check the mic here. That's off. That's on. That's up. Hold on, guys. I'm going to unplug you for a second. Do I sound better now? This is what you get when you are dealing with Ron Technology. Do I sound better now? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, yes. Susie, my wonderful wife, if I still sound muffled, yell at me down the steps again. But be sure to lock the door behind you when you go upstairs. Now, nonetheless, where was I? Retail sales. The consumer is 70%. Thank you, Susie, for pointing that out, by the way. Retail sales is 70%. The consumer is 70% of the U.S. economy. We got great retail sales number. Everything's great. Don't forget, it's Bidenomics. We're all rich. We're all in fairyland, economic fairyland. No. Guys, yeah, sure, retail sales went up, but guess what? There's something they forget to tell us. And if President Joe Biden today, when he gives his economic address, talks about how strong retail sales are, I think I may get sick, okay? Because retail sales are based on nominal numbers. There's a difference. This is very important to understand. Nominal does not account for inflation. Real, when you hear that word real, it accounts for inflation. So what they're saying is, oh yeah, retail sales were up, but when you factor in inflation, were they really up? No, not the case. Sorry, Joe. Right? He probably can't even comprehend that fact. But if you're not adjusting or accounting for the increase in inflation, retail sales, they aren't that great. right? So you got to really dig into this stuff, guys. So, when they're talking about how strong the economy is and how great retail sales are, now right? You can say, no, those are nominal numbers, nominal, like just number. It's just the number. Our friend Pat Holland from the Missouri Freedom Initiative talks about nominal confusion with money, right? $100 bill is a $100 bill today, just like it was 20 years ago. We still look at it like, oh, it's a $100 bill. Nominally, it's the same thing. But in real terms, it's not the same thing today that it was 20 years ago. I was thinking about something. Oh, I remember. I was thinking about something the other day. I used to go, I'm always very frugal. I'm cheap. Some people like to say resourceful is how I like to refer to. Maybe you're like me. Are you like me? Are you resourceful? If you are, say resourceful. That's a big word to type. I know I'm asking a lot, but say resourceful in the comments. I'm also a tightwad and very frugal. And I used to get hotel rooms from Priceline 20 years ago. I was thinking about this the other day. We stayed at a 4-star hotel. Where the heck was it? Where was I thinking of? I don't know. I'd go on road trips. Susie and I would go places. I would get 4-star hotel rooms for like $40, $45. And I know it was. It was the Palmer House in Chicago we stayed at one time. And I got the room for like $32 a night, right? And I thought, now I bet I couldn't touch that room for $100. So, nominally, sure, $100 bill, it's still a $100 bill. My eyes still light up. Yours probably do too. But in real terms, what does it buy you now compared to 20 years ago? I don't know why I went down that rabbit hole. How about gold and silver? Now that we're on that subject, an ounce of silver 20 years ago was an ounce of silver. You could buy yourself, a nice meal for yourself and maybe your spouse. Today, with an ounce of silver, you can still buy the equivalent meal. Silver, gold, platinum, over time hold their value. This show is not about this. This show, guys, is about big, major changes going on in the economy that are going to have major changes, effects, major impacts on the precious metals prices. Major changes with monetary policy, right? Now, monetary policy refers to the Federal Reserve. Fiscal policy refers to what our government does. But big, huge sea change of the winds going on right now. Okay, let me read you. This was an excellent, very short, so stay with me. I'm not going to read you a book. No, this isn't really story time. This was an outstanding tweet by Rashad Hajiyev on X or Twitter, whatever we call it. Okay, it says gold at about 1,900 US dollars is delaying the inevitable, and decisive breakout should finally arrive. Now remember, when we're talking about gold, we're talking about silver and platinum as well. With oil prices up 30% in 2 months, we're going to talk about that later, a second wave of inflation is underway. But, and this is the huge thing, guys, this time the Federal Reserve and our old friend Jerome Powell, old Jeremy Powell, don't worry, he's going to be a guest live here in the basement before you know it. Anyway, has minuscule room to further hike rates on a $33 trillion U.S. debt. Whether the Federal Reserve admits it or not, it will lose the inflation fight. This should take gold to my $2,600 target very quickly. There you go, $2,600 gold. That was in the thumbnail. I always talk about the number that's in the thumbnail, $2,600 gold. Now, he summed up some very key points here right now. Guys, inflation's back, okay? And the Fed has been neutered. Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve, they've shot all their ammo. They're in this war on inflation. They had their ammo and they boom, 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 boom. They blew it all up at once. They did the grand finale over the last 16 months. So now as inflation is still a big problem. And I'm going to tell you what to expect. Okay, we're going to talk about what to expect. That's the big key. Inflation's coming back. We talked about this. The Fed can't control the price of oil. Saudi Arabia can control the price of oil. Russia can control the price of oil. Iran can control the price of oil. The United Arab Emirates can control the price of oil. We, because of what our president decided on the day that he was elected and put into office, we have a lot of oil in this country. We have an unbelievable amount of oil, but we're not allowed to drill it. We're not allowed to pump it, right? So we kind of shot ourselves in the foot, and we can't control the price of oil. Now, on top of that, and this should make you mad, there's a thing called the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. It's where the United States holds just unbelievable amounts of oil, and for a case of emergency, it's Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Well, Joe Biden has drained it, essentially. There's plenty of information out there. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but go look it up. It's been drained. And you know why he drained it? Now, I'm just telling you what some people are saying. He really started draining it before the midterm elections last year, right? Last summer, to control the price of oil, because he went to Saudi Arabia and begged them to pump more oil, begged them to help him, right? And they told him to buzz off in no uncertain terms. So he just started releasing oil from it's supposed to be strategic. It was strategic, all right, for Joe. It was strategic in that he wanted to help his fellow politicians that belong to his same party in the midterm elections. This is not a political show. I'm just giving you what a lot of people say was the case. Okay? Now, we're facing massive inflation. Let's talk about the big picture here is that the market figures out inflation is not going away. Inflation now is a real problem. The Fed doesn't have any ammo left with which to fight inflation. What do you think silver, gold, and platinum are going to do in that environment? They're waking up. And it's not the metals that are waking up. They've always been there. They've been here on the planet for millions and millions of years and held their value. It's more and more people starting to wake up. Like, oh, we have an inflation problem and we have a Fed that doesn't have any tools left. Now, here's what you can expect. The Fed's going to have limited ability to do anything real. Remember that term we talked about earlier, real, right? Any real, they can't raise rates. And I'm going to go into it right now. They can't raise rates. They can't. We had a big uptick in inflation yesterday, okay? The market should have dumped, the general stock market. The price of gold and silver should have completely dumped, drained, crashed, whatever. They didn't, because the market is waking up to the idea, the fact, right, that the government, that the Fed, doesn't have an ability to fight this new inflation. If this had happened 2 years ago and we'd gotten those higher and higher inflation prints, gold would have been down $50 an ounce. Silver, I know silver's been struggling lately, but it would have been down way more than it was. The market would have been way down. Your 401k would have become a 398k, however you want to say it. That didn't happen, guys, because everybody knows the Fed can't. 2 years ago, they knew the Fed could raise rates, and the Fed did raise rates. They actually exceeded expectations, okay? But now everybody knows they can't. And why? Do you want to know why? Are you asking why? Well, why, Ron? Why can't the Fed raise rates? Because, number one, the banks are on life support. Remember March and April when the 10-year bond yield got to 4.2%? Well, now we're at 4.3%. In March and April, 4.2% on the 10-year bond yield crashed the banks. They can't raise rates. The banks will crash. That's a pretty critical part of our economy. The consumer is on life support. Don't believe those nominal Retail sales numbers are great. Well, then why are all these stores shutting down everywhere you look? Why are the retailers reporting or forecasting bad numbers, right? Okay. The consumer is on life support, credit card debt through the roof, right? These things here, right? There's a credit card. Guess what? America, you're out. And the banks are lowering credit limits anyway on top of that. The banks are on life support. The consumer's on life support. Corporations are on life support. We've got a whole swath of businesses in this country called zombie corporations. They only survived over the last 10, 15 years because of zero interest rate policy. Guess what? Now they have to refinance all that debt they stacked up over the last 10, 15 years when rates were zero, right? When the Fed rate was zero. Now it's at 5.5%. They are all in big trouble. We're going to see a wave of bankruptcies under the current. Thank you, Henny, for the super chat, my friend. Under the current arrangement. Okay, and it's only going to get worse. If they raise interest rates, it's going to get even worse. The government's on life support. I'm going to go through the list one more time at the end, right? Our government is spending $1.4 trillion per year more than they bring in. They've got a massive pile of debt. We've covered that ad nauseum. They've got to refinance $17 trillion in debt over the next 2 years at much higher interest rates, just like those zombie companies. And the geopolitical situation in the world, America geopolitically is nearing life support, or at minimum has been greatly diminished on the world stage. So this is what we're facing right now in this country. Banks life support, consumer life support, zombie companies, corporations on life support. The government is on life support. It feels like our president sometimes is on life support. Geopolitical situation is on life support. And you're going to tell me that the Fed is going to get tighter with money? No, guys, we're moving into an environment where we're going to have higher inflation, right? And inflation is going to become higher than interest rates. And that's negative real interest rates. And that is, there's so much stored up energy, okay? So much stored up energy in the gold price, in the silver price, and platinum price right now that when it goes, I think possibly $2,600 could be a low for gold, could be a low estimate. I think that we could see the mid 40s for silver. Now look, I'm not giving financial advice. I'm just telling you what I feel in my bones. I've got charts, right? You know, let's just review the charts though. And these charts these charts do belong to Jake from Jake's Custom Parts, one of the great moderators on the channel. There's the DXY. Okay, that's the dollar index. We are here at 105. Those blue sections are over the last 40 years, the amount of time that we've been where we are now, over 100. Okay, and that has a major impact on the metals prices. The dollar goes down, the price of gold and silver and platinum go up. Now, let's talk about the exciting part. The old cup and handle. And this is also true for gold, but this happens to be silver. This is the most reliable chart pattern in the world. Read about it, guys. Learn about it. Okay, this starts with silver in 1980 at 50. We go down. We hit 50 again in 2011. That makes the cup. Okay, from then until now, we're forming the handle. And once that breaks up above 50, it is off to the races. Okay, that's long term. In the longer period of time, thank you, Jim McDaniel. Thank you for the super chat. Wow, we appreciate the support. Okay, the longer, I'm not supposed to interrupt myself during thoughts anymore. Susie gets mad at me. So I apologize to all of you for that. I'm going to stay on track. The longer period of time that the cup and handle formation forms over, the more powerful that it is. Okay? All right. And when silver gets above 50, I talk about $65 silver. How does like $80 silver? I know. I get accused of being a pumper and a shill and blah, blah, blah. Yes, I am sponsored by a bullion company, right? I will tell you first right now, like I tell you every time, I'm not giving financial advice. I'm making my predictions for me based upon what I see. If you care to listen to them, that's great. But you need to make up your own mind. Now, if you do make up your mind that you might want to buy a little silver, gold, or platinum, go check out Pimbex. Okay? They're an online bullion dealer. They check all the boxes in my book, okay? I think before you buy bullion, before you buy silver or gold, you buy the company. And I did my research on the company. I've bought silver from Pimbex, Pimbex, and I'm a happy customer. They check the price box, right? Their prices are competitive. They check the selection box. They have what I like and what I need. And their customer service is great as well. They're family owned. They're good guys. You can call them, right? Their phone number is right there on the website, Pimbex, and they will help you out. They'll answer questions you have. Check them out if you're looking to buy some silver, gold, or platinum. Now, I know I need to ring the bell. That's the happy medium bell. Thank you guys for the thumbs up. Okay, that helps. This is the short-term good news. This is the wedgie for silver, the wedge, the silver price, right? And it actually goes back further. Over the last 3 months has been consolidating down into this wedge. It is going to break one way or the other on the short term. That's a fact. The wedge eventually touches each other. At some point, we're going to have a break out of that situation. I think that it's likely it could be to the upside, but we'll see how it, we'll just have to see how it plays out. Essentially, what we're talking about here, the big picture is the central banks have lost the fight on inflation. Didn't we know that was going to happen? I mean, you can't print 40% more money in a 3-month period, like they did during the health crisis of 2020. And not have runaway inflation. It's mathematically impossible. Reality is setting in right now. Now, the summer of Barbie and Taylor Swift is over. Now the credit card bills are due, right? Now the hen comes home to roost. Americans have zero savings, and they do have incredibly high credit card debts. And we have an oil situation, which is so critical for us to understand. I want to read you just a couple very interesting points about what's going on in the world oil market, because there is nothing that will affect the world economy like the price of oil. It says right here. This is we touched on this earlier. The U.S. is playing with fire. Playing with fire as oil reserves plunge to a 40-year low. Queasy indeed, the market guru wrote in a previous post illustrating falling U.S. strategic petroleum reserves. That's Larry McDonald. He's an oil guru. The Biden administration has been draining the strategic petroleum reserve since the start of the Ukraine war to help cap energy prices. And guess what, guys? Right now, it's drained. They were capping energy prices over the last year and a half by taking money out of the savings account, the oil savings account. Now it's gone. And have you noticed the other big deal going on right now? That the oil price is shooting up around the world and that the OPEC countries are cutting production. This is going to get very, very interesting real soon. It says the U.S. is playing with fire as its oil reserves plunge to a 40-year low at a time when global crude prices are rallying again. Market guru Larry McDonald said. Queasy indeed, he wrote in an earlier post, with a graph showing a steep drop in U.S. strategic petroleum reserves. McDonald is a former Lehman Brothers trader and the author of a book called A Colossal Failure of Common Sense, which chronicles how the investment bank ended up collapsing. Okay. We've got a couple of issues all coming together right now that are going to wreak havoc in the U.S. economy in the coming months. All right. All the impact, which is still just now being felt. Remember, there's a thing called the delay effect, or there's another fancy term they use for it. But basically, when the Fed raises interest rates like they did over the last 18 months, 16, whatever, however many darn months they did it, at such an aggressive rate, it takes 6 to 12 months for the impact of each of those individual interest rate hikes to bleed through to the economy. We are just now entering the meat of the impact, right? The heart of the impact of all those interest rate hikes at the same time where the country has no oil left in its strategic petroleum reserve, or very little. It was an exaggeration. I apologize. And on top of that, oil prices are skyrocketing around the world. In Europe, for instance, well, the natural gas has gone through the roof. So not crude, but natural gas. In Europe, we read something just last week that said the equivalent natural gas price equivalent in oil right now in parts of Europe is $600 per barrel. Don't forget, an interesting little point along with that. A lot of the metals refiners and smelters in Europe have shut down because they can't afford to pay for the natural gas. Now, what makes that very interesting is that will also decrease the supply of metals coming onto the market, right? And higher crude prices, that also puts the crimps on the mining companies. Oil and energy is a major component of cost for all the mining companies. So we will see, right? I'm not saying all the mines of the world are going to shut down or anything like that, but it will constrain production to a certain degree at the mining companies, which again, it's supply and demand. But I'm telling you what, when I think about silver in particular, the silver market, has this dawned on you how small the silver market is? 1 billion ounces a year is all that's produced of silver. That means the entire silver market is, like, at today's price, is worth like $22 billion. The entire world's silver production for 1 year, $22 billion. And what's even more astounding is when you look at the registered inventory, right? Or the, what's the other one? Eligible inventory of silver at the COMEX that sets the world price for silver. What are you talking, like 40 million ounces of silver? That's almost my math is not great right now. What is that? That's less than $1 billion worth of silver at the COMEX. That backs everything, that sets the whole world price for silver. It is mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. And I said this yesterday, but I bears repeating, right? This is silver. This is like, when you look at the Yahoo Finance webpage, on the bar across the top, they have the Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, right? The 10-year bond. But they also have silver listed up there. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. Let's circle back to the Fed. Okay, so what happens next? What do we have to expect? What's the next step? And how will it impact the precious metals prices? Are you asking that question? What's going to happen here in the next 2 months, 4 months, 6 months? Well, next week, we're going to have a big announcement from the Federal Reserve, right? They're meeting September 19th and 20th, the Fed monetary policy, and they'll have their big announcement next Wednesday where they announce their interest rate policy. Everybody thinks they're going to hold rates steady. But what we have to expect, we got a couple, really 3 things to expect. This is critical, guys. We talked about this earlier. Real. The Fed doesn't have any real tools left to fight inflation. So what are we going to get from the Fed? Be prepared, because you're going to get a bunch of BS. You're going to get a bunch of talk. And their talk, it can be very powerful, no doubt about it. But be prepared for some verbal diarrhea. That word always makes me laugh. Coming out from our friends at the Federal Reserve. Do you know what I'm talking about, right? They're going to go to their fancy lunches after they're done with their meeting next week, and they're going to be engaging in verbal diarrhea. And I feel sorry for the people at those lunches, because they're going to have to deal with it. But that's all they're going to do. They're going to come up with new imaginative ways to spray unicorn fart dust, whatever you want to call it, all around. But the reality is they're faced with one of two choices as we move into this next 6 months. Inflation will be running hot. Their first choice, if they really want to fight inflation and they do raise rates, I don't think it's going to happen. I could be wrong, but if they do raise rates more from here, they will cause devastation and havoc. It would be that scenario that none of us really wants to see. Deep recession, possibly a depression. Okay? Because don't forget, guys, the banks are on life support. The consumer's on life support. The government is on life support. Okay? Everything, right? The employment, the labor market is showing signs of cracks. So if they raise rates, and they really do, he wants to be Volcker. Yeah, I'm tough on inflation. But think about it. Is that what the Fed is? Of course, is independent politically, but we have an election coming up in about 1 year. Okay, so the power structure in Washington, D.C. does not want to see a depression or a steep recession. No. Option number 2 of what they can do is, like I said, spray a bunch of verbal diarrhea, go out and talk about new imaginative ways that they're going to control inflation, but it's all a bunch of BS, right? Okay. I'm really gone into the toilet today. Anyway, it's all a bunch of BS. It's not real. It's fake. It's all a bunch of fake. And as the market, and maybe we're seeing that today, guys, think about this. Gold should be at $1,800, $1,750 an ounce right now if the market had reacted the way that it would have in an environment where it really believes that the Fed's going to do anything. Silver should be at $17, $18 per ounce. We should have crashed. The general markets should have crashed horrifically. The markets are waking up. It's not just you and I, right? You're a little ahead of the curve. Congratulations, right? We have had our heads out of the sand and have been learning about this. Give yourself a pat on the back. Here, let me pat you on the back. You're doing a good job. You're a little ahead of the curve. Now, look, you don't have a crystal ball. I don't have a crystal ball, but at least we're shining our flashlights together. And think about this. I like to use that analogy. Like we're walking down, imagine it's nighttime and we're walking down a path together. We're trying to navigate what's going on, right? We're all walking, all 380 of us that are here right now in the basement. And we all have a flashlight, right? We all have different flashlights. Some of them are brighter. Some of them aren't so bright. Nonetheless, we're all shining our flashlights. We're all seeing different things. And you know what? If we all focus them together on the road ahead of us, we can get a pretty good idea of what to expect. And when we do that, and when we look at what is real, that's been the key of this live stream, the key of this video, what's real out there, not the make-believe BS, paper, unicorn fart, all that stuff. No, the unicorns and fairy and rainbows and lollipops. No, when we look at what's really going on, really going on, we can be prepared as we head into these coming months, quarters, and years. What about COVID? I think I can say that now on YouTube. That could be a big crisis heading our way. I don't know. Where I work at night, we've had a lot of people over the last 3 weeks who've been out with COVID. And now we've got this article. Listen to this. Because, guys, that could throw a major, major wrench into the economy. We don't want anybody to suffer. We don't want another health crisis, whatever. Here, this came from Zero Hedge. I don't know if you heard this. COVID cancellations are back. California high schools cancel football games. 2 California high schools have confirmed that they canceled football games because of COVID-19 cases amongst students. All right, so only 2, but still. Esparto High School near Sacramento confirmed that it canceled a game after it stated that 6 players tested positive for COVID-19. It also stated that multiple players were injured and they didn't have enough people to play in the game. Our role in the health department is to support our schools and being able to stay open for that in-person instruction. That's from Dr. Amy Sisson, the Yolo County Health Officer. We provide support, certain tips on what to do when there are cases, provide testing resources, but really our goal for this school year is to keep kids in school in person and also to do it safely. Hundreds of miles away, a school north of Los Angeles also confirmed to local media outlets that it canceled football game against a rival school after multiple COVID-19 cases. So here's a quote. Quote, "We have an outbreak," Santa Paula assistant principal Daniel Goldsman told the Ventura County Star. "The number is rising." Okay, we'll see what happens with all that. And it wouldn't be a weekly live stream if we didn't talk about the fact that central banks are buying more gold. Let's cover that quickly here. It says here, this is from Kitco. And our old friend Niels. Gold shopping spree continues for Poland. This country, I can't even pronounce the name, Czechia, and India. Uzbekistan also buys in August. So we're continuing to see central banks around the world purchasing gold. What is that telling us? Right, we'll say it every day if we have to. The central banks are the most sophisticated financial institutions in the world. They know what's going on, wouldn't they? I don't know. You tell me. I would think the world central banks would know what's going on, and the world central banks continue to buy gold. Okay. Interesting, right? Interesting. I've got a couple comments lately about the BRICS gold-backed currency. I actually had one in the comments last night where I was roasted, right? And I'll always tell you guys both sides, like, oh, you were talking about a BRICS gold. Absolutely. I was talking about a BRICS gold-backed currency. When was the meeting? August 22nd. It was not announced, right? We did not get the BRICS gold-backed currency. 6 weeks prior, everybody was talking about it. Everybody, because we had news reports that it was likely going to be announced at the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. There was a report out of the Russian embassy that we could expect a BRICS gold-backed currency. So yes, I reported on it, right? I didn't say it was a done deal. I don't think I did, because it wasn't a done deal. It wasn't a done deal until they announced it at the BRICS meeting. What we do know is that the BRICS meeting went very well. We also know that now there's 6 more countries joining the BRICS: Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Iran, Argentina, Egypt, and Ethiopia. So now it's BRICS plus 6. It's 11 official countries. Guys, that's happening in January of 2024. Those countries combined have a massive amount of the world's population, a massive amount of the world's resources. They're developing their own markets, including for precious metals. You know, remember, China's the number 1 producer of gold in the world. Who's number 2? Russia. I think that's both those countries are members of BRICS. There's people talking about several ideas about what's going to happen with the BRICS and gold and the currency and trading. right? There's talk about a digital-backed currency that will be backed and transparent, backed by gold. There's also talk, and I think this fixes it, because at first they talked about a currency being backed by a number of different real commodities, including gold and silver, right? But now, and I see this. I don't know how you feel about this, but a number of top analysts have put forth the idea that what we could see is them maybe just using gold. Go figure. And why would China want to do that? They're only the top producer of gold in the world. Why would Russia want to do that? Oh, they're the second top producer of gold in the world. China's been buying gold hand over fist. There's reports out day after day that China and the East are draining the West of gold. So, yeah, did we get an official BRICS announcement of a gold-backed currency? No. Is it going to happen? I think very, very likely. What will it mean for the gold price and silver price? It will mean rocket fuel. You know why? Because it will force the United States, it'll force the COMEX, it'll force the LBMA with both gold, silver, to recognize the true value of those metals. Think about this. It could also, right? I put forth the idea that the world has never gone off the gold standard, the metal standard, the gold standard, the silver standard, the platinum standard. However, you can convert your paper dollars for gold. So we could say, if we believe gold and silver are the base of all money, the real money, God's money, the planet's money, however you want to say it, we're not really off the quote unquote gold standard, right? Gold is measured, and you are free right now. From 1933 to 1974, you weren't free. It was illegal for you to buy gold as an option for money. I almost said investment, but I don't know if that's the right term. So if the rest of the world, if a majority of the world actually moves to more of a gold tethered system that's reliable, it'll force the United States. Officially, unofficially, who cares? It'll force the West to recognize. It'll force the West back onto a gold standard, basically, right? It may not be official, but trust me, where it will be recognized is in the price of silver, the price of gold, and the price of platinum. That's an absolute fact. Hey, we almost have 200 thumbs up. I haven't begged you yet today. If you're with us, 400 of you right now on the live stream, do me a favor. It's fun. It feels good. Press that thing that looks like that. Look at my big fat thumb. If you press that, it gets the word out to more people. It makes me happy. And now that we have 200 thumbs up, I am going to softly, because the bells are a part of us, basement dwellers. I'm going to ring the bell, the 200 bell. There it is. Man, thank you guys. Thank you for being here. It's a big, 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 big deal. And I want to touch on one more thing, because this is actually kind of funny. Okay, I got attacked. I have to be honest with you. We got attacked. Us basement dwellers, we got attacked. There's a group on Facebook called the Gold and Silver Forum. It has like 20,000 members. All right. I guess I'm not a big Facebook guy. I never go there, but I was a member. Apparently at some point I joined it. And it's where people talk about silver and gold, and we got attacked. All right. But it's actually kind of funny. And there's a hidden piece of what I think of great news in this attack of Ron's basement. But there's a guy, and I put a post on the community tab. You can check it out. There's a guy who put a screenshot of my channel and said, what did he say? Hold on. I'll read this to you, because it was quite an honor what he said about me. Let me tell you. Hold on here. What the heck did I do with it? Okay, I can't find it. But he said, He said, "Is this guy the most disgusting person on the planet?" Okay, that's what he said, and then they had some comments on there about how I was misleading people, I was a pumper, blah blah blah, and a lot of nice comments too. This generated quite a bit of controversy, right? Some really nice comments as well. Some people even compared me to Lynette Zhang and Andy Schectman, but the point of this was, and what after I thought about it, and I'm whatever, now nobody likes everybody. And I believe, now let me say this first. When I talk to you about silver, gold, and platinum, right? When I tell you what I feel, that's what I feel 100%. When I'm sponsored by a company like Pimbex, and I'm also sponsored by First Mining Gold, those are companies that I work with. In the case of First Mining Gold, I've owned the stock for years and years and years, and I own a lot of it, okay? It's a big chunk of my net worth. And so when I talk about these companies, they're what I believe in from a sponsorship perspective. I think this guy was like saying I was just a pumper, misleading people about the potential of silver and gold. I believe that 100% in my heart. I do believe that we could very likely see $2,600 gold next year. I believe in the next 5 years, we could easily see $65 silver. I always say to everybody, that's just my opinion. That's what I believe. You need to believe what you believe, and you need to listen to a number of different sources when you develop your own thesis. And I don't tell people, sell everything you have and only buy. I don't give any you should just only buy silver and gold, or only buy platinum, or only buy this mine. No. I always recommend to you and to everybody, be careful, dollar cost average, and I'm not giving financial advice. I'm giving you my truth and what I feel in my heart, okay? I did invite this guy to come onto the show and explain to me and my audience, because I always want to talk about both sides of the coin, just exactly why I am the most, not just disgusting, but the most disgusting person on the face of the planet. I thought only Susie was the person who said that to me. I'm just kidding, Susie. Susie's the best. Coin Shop Chris is the best. Okay. Wow, look at all these comments flying by. Coin Shop Chris, Annie Oakley, Susie. All right. Craig Edmonds. Yeah. Hey, you guys, Ron, I have your back. Oh, well, thank you, Craig. Thank you, Annie Oakley. All right. Man, Old Dirty Bastard Garage, Sassy Silver. Now, this is what it's all about. Big J. All right, my friend. Look at that. You guys are awesome. Annie Oakley, Randall Holmes. Who's Coin Shop Chris? Our good friend, Coin Shop Chris, as well. Man, Leaf Johnson, Jimmy Smith. So, and at the end of the day, I'll be honest with you. I've been doing this for a year and a half, as you guys know. I've from the very beginning, I've heard some really mean things said about me, which generally I don't care about. I listen to what everybody says because I never want to hurt anybody's feeling, and I don't want to mislead or deceive anyone in any way. Okay. This guy, for some reason, really got under my skin. And, but last night, what I was thinking, and this reminded me of this, as I'm looking at all you guys with these nice comments, I thought one bad guy, and some other people agreed, whatever, but so many nice people that I've met doing Ron's Basement. It's a big deal. You guys really are a good group of people, good-hearted people, very smart people, and we call ourselves basement dwellers, whatever, but it's always a big honor for me when you guys join me in the basement. It really is. I'm not perfect, and I don't expect everybody to like me. I've heard it all. When I first started, people said I was a robot because I never blinked. But I am real, right? This is not a green screen behind me, just like you're real. And it is a big deal for me when you join me in the basement. I appreciate you coming here today. As always, I appreciate all your support, okay? And I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.